Over the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to see some extremely important news releasing regarding the United States that I think is going to be extremely impactful on the world of crypto. And so, in today's video, what I want to do is talk about what this news is, why you need to be watching it, why it's so important, and what I'm doing as a result of it. And so, with that said, since we have a good bit to unpack today, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. Now, over the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to start receiving our CPI, PPI, and retail sales data. What you can see here is that on the Wednesday, we're going to get CPI data. And if you don't know what CPI data is, quite simply, this is the consumer price index, which I'll tell you about in a second. On Thursday, we're going to get PPI data, which is the producer price index, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. And then again, on Friday, we're going to get the retail sales data. Now, Tyler, why are these pieces of news so important to the point you're making a whole video about it? Well, what these things are is they give us an understanding of how inflation is climbing or falling in the United States. If we look at what CPI data is, quite simply, it is again a statistical estimate of how prices change over time for a representative basket of goods and services. So what this quite simply means is, as a consumer, are you spending more or less on certain things like food, gas, electricity, and much more? Now, PPI data is the same thing, but from a producer's perspective. So when you go buy something from the store, again, you're a consumer. The person who sold it to you generally is a producer. This is a set of economic indicators that measure the average change in selling prices received by domestic producers for their goods and services. So again, you have consumers who are buying and producers who are selling. And this data that we're going to get over tomorrow and the next day is going to start telling us if inflation is going up, staying sideways, or going down for these groups of people. Now, Tyler, why is that so important? Well, the reason why this is so important and the reason why we have to watch this very closely is because I'm under the belief that the crypto market is now at the mercy of the United States economy to some degree. Now, that's a big thing to say. What does that actually mean? Well, throughout last year, throughout 2024, what we saw was that the crypto market relied on catalysts to see excitement. You know, I say it all the time. The crypto market doesn't need catalysts. It doesn't need excitement. It doesn't need those things, in my opinion. And the reason that I say that is because crypto as a whole provides a growing amount of value to the world. And as long as it provides more and more value over time, intrinsically, its value and price should go up. But when we're talking about excitement and hype and big moves, crypto is a very catalyst-based market. It's a very small asset class. That's normal. And throughout 2024, we saw that in full effect. We had ETFs, we had Trump's election, we had all of these things that were causing people to get excited, get that FOMO, have something to look forward to, causing them to buy it, talk about crypto, and much more. The problem with that, though, is that as soon as Trump's election ended, we really didn't have many catalysts left, right? We already did the halving. We already saw the election. We already saw ETFs jumping in. We already saw institutions jumping in. We saw all those things. And the moment that Trump got elected, we were pretty much past catalyst season. Now, history says that once you get past the season of catalyst, the crypto market is going to fall back on the economy. If the economy is looking good, especially the United States economy, the global economy is important, but it seems to be heavily moving off the United States economy right now. When the economy is doing good, crypto will do good. When the economy is doing bad, crypto will do bad. Now, why is that? Well, it's very easy to understand. When the economy is doing better, oftentimes what happens is that means that interest rates are falling, quantitative easing is in effect to some degree, and well, people have more money. Now, it's not that simple. There are steps that need to be taken to get there, and sometimes before an economy can get good, it has to get bad and something has to break, and then they have to you have to go to quantitative easing to make the economy good, but that's not the point. The point of the matter here is that generally, when the economy is good, crypto good. Economy bad, crypto bad, to some degree. Now, there are, I guess, exceptions in the sense that the economy could be bad to some degree, but if the government is printing a lot of money, it doesn't matter, similar to like what we saw during the pandemic. But to make it broad, to make it easy to understand, if the economy is in a good place, inflation is not out of control, we're going okay, things are steady, crypto will usually do good. Well, in this instance, this is going to tell us kind of the state of the economy. Right now, what we've seen is that the economy, and especially the Fed, are relying on these inflation numbers. The Fed will put the economy under more restraint, which makes it harder to do well in this economy, or less restraint, which makes the crypto market perform better, or just the economy perform better, depending on what inflation is doing. The Fed's entire goal right now is to get inflation down to 2%. And if we are getting closer to that number, it's going to become even more likely that they start to reduce interest rates, start quantitative easing, make money cheaper. Now people have more liquidity, and that'll oftentimes find itself into the crypto market. But on the flip side is if inflation is not performing well, if it's starting to go up, if it's starting to get a little bit out of control, what the Fed may have to do is put more restraint on the economy to slow it down a little bit, which will cause less liquidity. Money will get more expensive, people will have less liquidity, and crypto will typically perform worse. And so what you have to understand is that every time now that we are past catalyst season, we're past the 2024 season, every time we're getting some of this economic data, it's very important because this is what the market's going to now rely on. Because it seems like the market always needs something to rely on. This is what it's going to rely on. And I'm under the belief that tomorrow's data could be some of the most important data that we get because the market's already so uncertain. If you go look at just the way that the market's performed recently, right? Not a lot of great performance. Bitcoin in the top 10 down for the most part. The monthly performance outside of a few outliers has simply just not been good. You go look at the crypto fear and greed index, it's at a 47 here on CoinGlass and a 37 here on CoinMarketCap. You go look at Visual Screener, you can see just the fact that even over the last 24 hours, no one really knows what's going on. People are just opening shorts and closing shorts and opening longs and closing longs. People don't know what's going to happen. Everyone is extremely uncertain right now about what the state of the market's going to look like. And I'm under the belief that anything big to the good side or the bad side that happens will really impact this economy. Now, if you don't believe me, I just want to draw you to what happened last week. Last week, we saw Donald Trump introduce the possibility that 10 to 25% worth of tariffs are going to be going on Canada, Mexico, and China. Now, the moment that happened, people got very fearful, right, that was going to cause inflation to spike, which was going to cause the Fed to start, of course, quantitative tightening or have to readjust their goals or their aim, their measurements in order to start bringing that back down, which could include no more quantitative easing, no rate cuts this year, all of these things. And as a result of people freaking out about that and being worried about that, we saw the market absolutely just nosedive. We saw most cryptos falling anywhere from 20 to 30% as a result of people being fearful about how what Donald Trump did would impact the economy. And so since you can quite clearly see how much of a big impact that economic shift caused on the market, I'm sure you can now start to more easily understand why it's so important for us to get an understanding of what happens with the economic data that we're going to get tomorrow and the next day. And during a period like this, as I mentioned before, in which things are very uncertain, you really need to watch it because it's not going to take much to shift people in either direction, make them very excited or very fearful. And whatever happens through that is going to very, very likely cause some volatility, liquidations, fake outs and false breakouts and liquidity hunts and everything that you can imagine in the crypto market. And so what does this mean for me? It means I'm bracing. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm bracing for impact. I'm aware that, of course, if the Fed comes in hawkish, which is kind of like bearish, it's not going to be good. And the crypto market's not going to like that. If we see, if inflation comes in worse than expected tomorrow, and that causes the Fed, of course, to get hawkish in the next FOMC meeting coming up here, it's going to be ugly. But if inflation data comes in better than expected tomorrow, or if it comes in good, maybe even at expectations, I think that could be a positive sign for the crypto market here. And I think that could cause some positive upwards volatility to maybe start liquidating some of these short traders. Because if we do look at something like CoinGlass again, and we head back up towards the liquidation map, you can see there are billions of dollars in liquidations to the top side. There are so many people who think this market's over. There are so many people who are shorting. For example, if we see Bitcoin's price go up to $108,000, there will be over $10 billion worth of liquidations, meaning that there's over $10 billion that will be lost if this market goes up because all of these people are shorting the market, meaning they're betting on the market to go down. They think it's going to go down. They think the bull market's over. They think that we're all going to lose. We're all going to burn. We're going to get kicked down the stairs like grandma, right? They think these things are going to happen. And I'm under the belief that if we see something positive tomorrow from CPI and then following PPI and then retail sales, that it could start to shift the market in a direction to actually have that bullish momentum and liquidity to start going up to try to short this market. I do think at some point, all of these short traders will lose. I do think at some point, the market will shift upwards and it will try to liquidate all of these people. The question is, will that be now or will that be later? And that's why, again, I'm telling you, I'm bracing. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what inflation data is going to be. I don't know how the market's going to respond. And so because of that, knowing that we're still in this sideways movement, we're still in the HMZ, which is the high manipulation zone that I've told you about a million times, this red box and this sideways chop, I'm just not doing much. I'm letting this play out. I'm letting this market tell me what it's going to do. Tell me whether we want to go up. Tell me whether we want to go down. Tell me if we're going to get a breakout of this HMZ or not. And once we finally have an idea of all of these things, then I'll start making some moves. So what that means for me, if the market absolutely nosedives, I'll probably buy a little bit. If it pumps like crazy, I'll probably take a little bit of profit. But do you see how I keep saying a little bit? It means to me I'm not doing anything big. I'm not going on high leverage. I'm not doing big buys. I'm not doing big sales. I'm not doing anything because this market is uncertain and we're getting very, very, very important economic data tomorrow that's really going to start shifting this market in one direction or another. So I'm not going to try to anticipate that, right? Because quite frankly, no matter what I do right now, it's simply just a guess. And I would rather make moves under a time in which I'm more clear and have more clarity on the market than just kind of just hoping for the best and just seeing what happens. There's no point in risking money right now. There's no point in taking losses right now because eventually this market will provide a much more clear outlook. That'll be a much easier time to make money in than what we're in right now. So for Tyler Hill, what I'm doing, I'm not doing much. I'm bracing for impact. I'm watching to see how this economic data impacts the market tomorrow, seeing how it's going to affect the economy. I'm trying to make an assumption of how the Fed's going to feel about it and then basing my decisions off of that. That's my strategy, and it's simple as that. And so, with that in mind, that's kind of where I'm at. Look, the market's very uncertain ahead of this news, and I am kind of feeling the same way. So, I'm going to let it play out, see how it goes, and then we'll, of course, go from there. Now, before we do wrap up this video, I want to read you a quote from my Twitter because I do think it's very important, especially during a time like this. I said, the worst enemy of a trader is their own mind. It's not the market that wrecks portfolios. It's FOMO, greed, and fear. FOMO makes you buy the top because you can't bear to miss out. Fear makes you sell the bottom when you should be buying. You should be buying or holding. Greed keeps you in a pump too long, turning unrealized profits into realized losses. You don't need to outsmart the market. You need to outsmart yourself. Stick to the plan even when it's uncomfortable. The traders who succeed aren't the smartest, they're the most disciplined. And I felt like this was important because right now I want to do something. I'm so bored. I'm honestly so tired of this market doing what it's doing. This shit's so irritating. But I'm not going to force it. I have to stay disciplined. I have to stick to the strategy. I'm not going to fall into the annoyance, right? The emotion of annoyance that I'm feeling and start forcing myself to make trades that don't make sense. I'm just going to let it play out. And I hope this resonates well with you because it's very important during times like these, especially when we're in what we call an HMZ, which is a zone where everyone loses. So please keep that in mind. And don't forget, if you do want more tweets like that, you can go follow me at Tyler Hill YT. Now, before we do wrap it up, I want to tell you about two things. First and foremost, if you do want to do some trading yourself on a very, very, very good platform, although I'm not doing big trading right now, I know some of you are, feel free to go check out CoinW. As you can see here, very smooth, very easy. They have margin on all the way up to 100x, isolated and cross margin, everything that you realistically need. And if you do sign up with the link down below, you can get tens of thousands of dollars in bonuses, all highlighted here for you if you want to go check it out. So feel free to check out that CoinW link down in the description below to get up to $30,000 in bonuses today. Now, the next thing I want you to remember is that if you do want to check out even more information from myself, I do post an absolute ton over in the school. You can see here, I'll post a whole bunch of insights and my thoughts and much more. Sometimes when I'm buying and selling and some trades I'm making and all that good stuff, that's available for you there. And if you do, again, or are interested in the school, we have a very simple mission. We take crypto investors like yourselves. We give you courses, coaching classes, live streams, workshops, signals, research, Q&As, and more to help you refine your strategies because realistically, strategies are where you create gains, not just hopeless, mindless buying and selling of things, right? And I'm not talking about little gains. I'm talking about big gains. If we just look at the server, you can see here, I mean, there's hundreds of percentages and gains that are posted in here every single day because people are taking their strategies and using them. They're sticking to them. And remember, they're staying disciplined. So if you want to access this, it's all going to be available for you down in the link below. There, of course, is the $5 a month tier and a $17 a month tier, both available for you right now. They won't be available for very long. This is actually the last week before we do make a pretty big change. So if this is interesting to you, feel free to go check that link out down in the description below. The best part about it is if you don't like it, you can get your money back guaranteed. And again, it starts as little as $5 a month. So feel free to go check that out. Again, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Tyler Hill YT and keep a very close eye out on tomorrow's news. I may go live or I may do a video or something like that. So turn on those notifications so you know as soon as it all happens. And of course, I hope you guys are ready for a pretty crazy day tomorrow. See you, everybody.